Hi everyone. Tonight we're going to talk about something that sounds boring, but might quietly save your legs. Picture this. It's 9:47 p.m. Your hallway lights are dim. You've just brushed your teeth. And as you're about to climb into bed, your thigh twitches. Nothing painful, just a flutter. You think, weird, and go to sleep. But what if I told you that tiny twitch was your muscle waving goodbye? Because here's the truth. Most seniors, maybe even you, are losing muscle right now, while sitting or lying down, doing absolutely nothing wrong. Or so they think. You probably won't survive aging well if you treat nighttime like a dead zone. Not when your muscles are shrinking faster after sunset than at any other time of the day. Why? Because the hours between dinner and sleep are biologically primed for muscle. Catabolism, the fancy word for your body breaking down tissue for energy, especially if you're underfed or sedentary. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you really like what I do here. And hey, drop your city and local time in the comments. I like seeing who's up late with me now. Turn off the lights. Maybe turn on the fan for some soothing noise. And let's get started tonight. It started for me after my 66th birthday. I was walking up the steps, yes, just two, and I caught myself pushing on the banister like I was climbing Everest. My knees weren't hurting. My legs just didn't go. It felt like the signal wasn't connecting that night. I sat on the edge of my bed and thought, is this the beginning of the end? Because I hadn't changed much, still took my vitamins, still ate my meals, still got in my walks. But here's the thing they don't tell you. After 60, you can lose up to 2% of your muscle mass every year just from inactivity. And the sneaky part, it's not the hours we're inactive that matter, it's the timing. Being sedentary at night, right before bed, sends a different message to your body. You don't need this muscle anymore. And once that message repeats itself night after night, boom, your thighs turn into pillows. So what do you do about it? Here's what I didn't do. I didn't start lifting weights at 10 p.m. like some midnight gym bro. I didn't drink a dozen protein shakes or do downward dog in my pajamas. I did one small thing. And I did it every night without skipping. I'll tell you exactly what it was in part 2. But let me pause here to give you your old age fact for the night. Did you know that sarcopenia, the technical name for age-related muscle loss, starts as early as your 30s? That's right. So if you're 60, you're not old, you're late to the party. Here's your quirky fact too, just to keep things spicy. Flamingos sleep standing up on one leg. No joke, and they don't fall over. Meanwhile, I once fell over trying to put on socks anyway. If we follow the academic consensus, though some recent debates challenge this, the best prevention of sarcopenia isn't resistance training alone. It's timing your nutrition and movement to match your body's recovery windows. And spoiler alert, one of those windows opens right before bed. So if you're drifting off on the couch each night thinking, well, I made it through another day, I hate to break it to you. You might be shrinking in your sleep. But don't worry, you're going to learn what I learned. You're going to feel stronger, steadier, and maybe even a little smug when you stand up without groaning. I didn't discover the trick on purpose. I wish I could say some enlightened physiotherapist whispered it into my ear during a wellness retreat in the Rockies, but no. It happened because I dropped a spoon. It was around 10 p.m. I'd just finished my nightly chamomile teas. I'm that person, and the spoon clanged onto the tile floor. I bent down to pick it up and felt my lower back whisper, Don't even think about it. I sighed, squatted instead slowly. Like I was trying to avoid waking a snake, and realized something. I hadn't squatted in weeks. Now that might not sound like a big deal, but it hit me. This wasn't laziness. This was neglect. Not dramatic. Not deliberate. Just slow erosion. So I made a rule for myself that night. 3 seconds. Every evening, before getting into bed, I had to hold a deep squat for at least 3 seconds. That's it. That was the rule. It didn't matter if I had a cramp. Didn't matter if the cat was watching me with judgmental eyes. I'd squat. Mississippi to Mississippi, 3 then rise. Some nights I'd wobble, others I'd surprise myself, but I stuck to it. Now you're probably thinking, really? That's your big secret? Yup. But here's the kicker. I didn't stop at just squatting. After a week of doing it, I noticed something else. I was sleeping better, deeper, and when I woke up, I didn't feel like a bag of sand. My hips felt looser. My steps felt lighter. So I added 2 more moves. One was a standing calf. Raise, hold the back of a chair. Lift onto your toes, slowly. Lower down, the other. A gentle wall push-up. Just enough to make the triceps say, "Oh, hello, we still exist." 3 moves. Less than 2 minutes. Done in my pajamas. Let me be clear. I'm not building Schwarzenegger quads over here. I'm not training for a marathon. But what I am doing is sending my body a message right before sleep. Hey, we still use these muscles. Don't delete them. And I swear to you, within a month, I was standing up from chairs faster. My balance improved. My legs didn't feel like noodles after getting out of the car. Here's a nugget of old age wisdom. I live by now. Use it at night or lose it by morning. And speaking of quirky facts, here's one for your next trivia night. Sloths only poop once a weekend. When they do, they climb down from their trees just to do it on the ground. Which, evolutionarily speaking, is a terrible idea. But hey, rituals matter. Even weird ones, back to us humans. If you've ever read up on muscle retention, you've probably come across studies debating resistance, load, frequency, recovery, time. But what few mention is that low-load, high-frequency movement, especially tied to circadian rhythm, has an outsized impact in seniors. That means small movements, consistently timed, do more for us than high-intensity chaos done once a week. My nightly 2-minute ritual turned into something sacred. Not because it was intense, but because it was mine. It reminded me I still had agency, that I wasn't fading, I was choosing. Every squat, every heel lifted was a quiet declaration. I'm still here. Funny thing is, I started looking forward to it. I'd brush my teeth, hum a tune, and whisper, "Time for the old leg, love." My partner would roll their eyes, but even they had to admit I stopped groaning when I stood up. So try it tonight. Start with 3 seconds. Add a calf raise, maybe. A slow stretch, if you're feeling ambitious. No need for equipment. No need to change into gym shorts. Just you, your body, and a whisper to your muscles that they're not forgotten. And don't worry if you feel silly. I once tried doing a squat while brushing my teeth, nearly inhaled the toothbrush. Lesson learned. I was sitting on that crinkly paper they put over exam tables, bare legs swinging like a school kid, when my doctor walked in holding a printout. He had that look, the one that says, "I don't want to panic you, but," and sure enough, he sat down, took a breath, and said, "Your muscle mass has declined 9% since your last checkup." Now, I'm no math wizard, But even I know that's a lot for just under a year. I raised an eyebrow and said, "Is that normal for someone my age?" He didn't blink. "It's common, not normal." That hit differently. He tapped the paper and said, "If this trend continues, we're talking a 20% loss in 2 years." And that's when simple things like standing up from the toilet start becoming dangerous. Oof. Nothing like imagining your own future bathroom struggles to make you sit up straighter. So, I asked, "What's the fix?" expecting a prescription or some fancy supplement. But he shook his head and said, "Movement. Small, daily. Especially at night." Apparently, after dinner, most people fall into this physical blackout zone. TV, couch, phone, bed. The body interprets that pattern as inactivity and begins pulling the plug on muscle it assumes you don't need. It's not just a theory. It's rooted in how our metabolism shifts after sundown. He even brought up a recent cohort study that showed seniors with minimal evening activity had significantly higher rates of sarcopenia within 6 months. According to him, the decline wasn't due to poor diet or illness, it was just inactivity at the wrong time. I walked out of that office feeling a weird mix of fear and relief. Fear, because I now knew what was at stake. Relief, because the solution was ridiculously doable. So, I went home, stood in front of my bathroom mirror, and tried that chairless squat again. Quads trembling, knees uncertain. But I did it, and I did it again the next night, and again. You know what's wild? After 2 weeks, my posture changed. I could feel my thighs engaging when I climbed stairs. Even stepping over the dog became smoother. But there's more to this story than squats. There's this pattern no one talks about. It's something I call the senior spiral. You skip a few movements because your legs feel weak. Then your legs get weaker from not moving. Then you avoid movement because you're afraid to fall. Rinse and repeat. Breaking that loop requires a stubborn kind of consistency. Not loud, not flashy, just quiet, stubborn action. Old age wisdom for you. Consistency always beats intensity. Especially after 60. Speaking of stubborn, here's your off-topic fact of the night. Octopuses have 3 hearts and 2 of them literally stop beating when they swim. Makes my nightly effort sound pretty chill, huh? But back to human hearts, Seshly. The emotional kind. Because there's an emotional punch to realizing you're losing strength not because of disease, but because of inattention. That you're shrinking silently because the day just ends, and you let it. Academically, there's debate around how much late-night movement is optimal. Some researchers argue that too much stimulation at night disrupts sleep quality. But others point out that gentle activity, think stretching, light resistance, balance work enhances sleep by lowering cortisol and improving melatonin production. I side with the latter. My sleep became deeper, more restorative, and more importantly, my body stopped feeling like it was slowly sinking. There's a power in doing something after the world winds down, when it's just you, the quiet, and the decision to not give in to gravity. That moment has become sacred to me now. Not dramatic, not even impressive, just mine. I've stopped looking for motivation. That ship sailed. What I rely on now is rhythm, toothbrush, squat, stretch, breathe. Not because I want to become a bodybuilder, but because I want to walk myself to bed at 90 without grabbing the wall. Sleep isn't just rest. It's a kind of renovation. While you dream about missing buses and forgetting your pants in public, your body is hard at work rebuilding tissues, resetting hormone levels, and if you've played your cards, right, repairing muscle. But here's the part no one wants to admit. If you don't set the stage, your body won't do the work. I used to think sleep was a passive thing. You lie down, close your eyes, and the body takes care of itself. But after that clinic visit, I started reading up on what actually happens at night. That's when I discovered something wild. Your body is capable of building muscle while you sleep, but only if you've primed it beforehand. Think of it like baking bread. You don't just toss flour into the oven and hope for a baguette. You need to mix, knead, proof, then bake. Same goes for muscle repair. If your evening routine is a steady diet of sugar, slouching, and scrolling, don't expect your body to magically turn into a recovery machine. What really blew my mind was learning about growth hormone. This stuff is the behind-the-scenes MVP of muscle repair, and it surges mostly during deep sleep. But here's the kicker. That surge is easily disrupted. Heavy meals, blue light exposure, late night stress, all of it acts like someone pulling the fire alarm just as your body gets to work. So I made changes first. I stopped eating anything heavy after 8 p.m. I used to think that little bowl of cereal or a sneaky slice of toast was harmless. Turns out, carbs right before bed spike insulin, which blunts growth hormone release. Now, if I snack, it's a small piece of protein like a boiled egg or a few almonds. Nothing fancy, just enough to feed the recovery machine without hijacking. It's second, I turned my bedroom into what I now call the muscle lab. I dimmed the lights, leave my phone out in the hallway, mostly let's not get heroic, and turn on a small fan for white noise. You'd be amazed how much deeper you sleep when your room isn't lit up like an airport runway. And third, this is the weird part, I started doing something I call bed prep. It's not yoga, it's not exercise. It's just a set of gentle movements I do right before getting under the covers. Shoulder rolls, ankle circles, light quad stretch. It feels like I'm telling my body, hey, this isn't just sleep. This is muscle maintenance time. Old age fact for the night. After age 60, your body produces significantly less growth hormone, less you stimulate it naturally through sleep hygiene, protein timing, and light resistance activity. You can't bottle youth, but you can coax it out of hiding if you're gentle and consistent. Now, here's your quirky nugget. Jellyfish don't technically sleep. They have no brains, but they do experience a kind of power down period. Scientists were baffled when they realized jellyfish get sluggish and stop responding at night. Which, honestly, sounds like me after 10 p.m. There's an academic tug-of-war over whether seniors should focus more on strength training or sleep optimization. Some say intense physical effort matters most. Others argue that without deep, consistent sleep, even the best training plan falls flat. I lean toward the integrative view. Why not both? You don't need to exhaust yourself with squats at bedtime. You just need to ask your body nicely to keep what it's got. And that means creating an environment that says, you're safe. You can heal now. And funny enough, the first thing I noticed once I started prioritizing sleep wasn't muscle, it was mood. I was less cranky in the morning. My shoulders didn't ache as much. And when I stretched in bed, I felt like a well-oiled human, not a creaky deck chair. People chase miracles in pills and powders, but the real recovery happens between your last blink and your first yawn. Don't now, every night, I whisper yes, actually whisper to myself, let's rebuild tonight. It's corny, but I swear, my legs hear me. Dinner used to be my reward. A little pasta, a bit of crusty bread, sometimes dessert, nothing crazy, just comfort. But over time, I noticed a pattern. When I ate certain things after 8 p.m., my legs felt heavy the next morning, swollen, like someone had replaced my calves with sacks of wet laundry. I brushed it off at first. I'm just getting older, I'd mutter, massaging my knees. But after enough stiff mornings, I finally connected the dots. What you eat at night doesn't just affect your sleep, it affects your muscles the next day. So I came up with a rule, a kind of anti-flop formula. Not a diet, not a spreadsheet. A simple yes, no system I could remember even when I was half asleep and halfway through the peanut butter jar. Here's what I do eat after 8 p.m., a small handful of almonds or walnuts, a boiled egg, a slice of turkey or cottage cheese, a spoonful of plain Greek yogurt with cinnamon, herbal tea with collagen powder stirred in. That's it. No sugar bombs, no greasy leftovers, just light protein and healthy fat enough to keep my body fueled for overnight repair without triggering a blood sugar circus. And what do I never eat? Anything with white flour. Ice cream, cookies, cake. You know, happiness in disguise. Salty snacks, chips, crackers, those healthy rice cakes. Sugary drinks, including light fruit juices. Big portions of anything, even good stuff. The science backs it up. Late night carb-heavy meals spike insulin and slow the release of growth hormone. Just when your body should be using that hormone to rebuild muscle. That's not speculation, it's been observed repeatedly in controlled trials. So yes, your late night popcorn habit might be why you feel like a bag of gravel in the morning. And here's where it gets weird. Once I started shifting my eating window earlier, finishing dinner by 7:30, light snack only if needed felt leaner, less puffy, and oddly, more alive in the morning. Like my body had finally stopped working against me and started working with me. There's something deeply satisfying about waking up and not immediately grabbing your lower back or groaning as you get out of bed. It's not that I gained pounds of muscle overnight, it's that the muscle I had stopped disappearing. Here's an old age wisdom for you. Muscle doesn't vanish overnight, but inflammation will make it feel like it did, and the wrong foods. They feed that inflammation like gasoline feeds fire. Your quirky tidbit tonight. Spiders can't chew. They inject digestive enzymes into their prey and drink their food like a smoothie. Horrifying but efficient. Makes my yogurt snack seem positively refined. There's an ongoing academic debate over whether calorie restriction or macronutrient timing plays a bigger role in age-related muscle maintenance. I've leaned into the latter. Timing matters more than we think, especially when the body's repair mechanisms are most active. At night, and let's be honest, eating well in the evening isn't about willpower, it's about ritual. If your evening routine includes a bowl of chips, your body expects that crunch. So replace it with something your muscles will actually thank you for. I keep my approved snacks in plain sight, and the junk in a drawer I have to bend down to open instant deterrent. It's all little tricks, little adjustments. Now, when I wake up and stretch, I feel strong, not Olympic athlete strong, but stable. I don't worry about wobbling when I put on socks. I don't hesitate before stepping off a curb. And that freedom, that confidence, it started with skipping the ice cream. There's a test I do once a week. No doctor's office, no gadgets, no numbers to remember. Just me, a regular kitchen chair, and the stopwatch on my phone. I sit, cross my arms over my chest, and stand up. Then sit again, and stand. I do this As many times as I can in 30 seconds. Simple, unforgiving, honest. They call it the chair stand test. You'd be surprised how revealing it is. I used to manage 9 reps, legs shaking like a baby deer. Last week, 13 clean ones, no arm flailing, no grunting, just strength I earned back, one bedtime squat at a time. That little test has become my benchmark. Not because I'm obsessed with numbers, but because I refuse to let gravity win. Here's something you probably haven't heard. Research links leg strength to cognitive health. Yep, there's growing evidence that people with stronger legs in older age tend to have better memory retention and slower cognitive decline. The theory is simple: active muscles support better blood flow, which helps the brain to think about that. Your ability to remember where you left your keys might just depend on how often you stand up without help. I know that sounds dramatic, but I've seen it play out among my friends. The ones who keep moving even just around the house stay sharper, sassier, and more independent. The ones who give in to the couch, they slow down in every sense of the word. So I made balance part of my nightly routine too. Before bed, I stand barefoot near the wall and lift one foot. Hold, count to 10, switch. Some nights I'm as steady as a monk. Other nights I sway like a clothesline in a storm. Doesn't matter, I do it anyway. And here's where it gets fun. Try brushing your teeth on one leg. You'll feel ridiculous, and that's the point. You'll wobble, probably spit toothpaste on the sink, and laugh. That laughter, that's proof you're still living, still learning. Old age wisdom alert. Balance isn't just physical, it's emotional. If you can laugh while wobbling, you're still in the game. And in case you're craving a quirky fact, get this. Goats have rectangular pupils. That's right, their eyes look like tiny camera apertures. It gives them panoramic vision, so they can spot predators. I tried looking at the world sideways to mimic them once. Nearly walked into a lamppost. Now, back to us humans. There's a heated discussion in gerontology about whether grip strength or leg strength is a better predictor of future decline. Both camps make solid points. Personally, I think they're both important, but if I had to choose, legs win. Because legs carry you. They lift you from the toilet. Asterisk. They take you outside when you're angry, when you're lonely, when you need to feel like part of the world again. Strong legs say, I can still go. Weak legs whisper, maybe I should just stay. That difference, it's everything. I've had days when I didn't want to move, when the bed was warm and the air was cold and my joints ached like they had their own opinions. But I'd still shuffle to that kitchen chair, set the timer, and do my 30 seconds. Some days I did more. Some days I did less. But I did it. And that, over time, built something far more important than muscle it. Built trust in myself. You can't fake strength. Not at our age. Either you have it when you need it or you don't. And the only way to make sure you have it is to earn it now. That's why I've turned my nighttime into a kind of ceremony. I light a small candle. I stretch. I test my balance. I squat. Maybe 5 or 6 times. I even keep a resistance band by my nightstand. Just a few pulls to remind my arms. They still matter too. This isn't about routines that look good on paper. It's about rituals that feel right in your bones. And once this becomes normal, it's not effort anymore. It's comfort. I have a friend, let's call him Joe, who refused to believe any of this mattered. He said, muscle loss is just part of aging. You can't stop it. Well, Joe spent 6 months watching his thighs turn into twigs and ended up needing a walker after a minor stumble on the stairs. It broke my heart, but more than that, it lit a fire in me. Because muscle loss isn't just about vanity, it's about dignity. You want to stay independent. Keep moving. You want to walk to the mailbox without fear. Keep moving. You want to get up off the floor if you fall. Keep moving. So if you're still listening to this, maybe standing barefoot in your dim hallway, feeling silly about lifting one leg while brushing your teeth, good, that means you care. That means something inside you refuses to give up. You're not here to fade quietly. You're here to stay upright. Stay curious. Stay you for as long as possible. Because the truth is, the strength you build tonight might be the reason you catch yourself tomorrow. And the strength you don't build, well, gravity's always waiting. The other night, I couldn't sleep. One of those restless evenings where the fan hummed too loud, the blanket felt too heavy, and my brain wouldn't stop reviewing grocery lists and imaginary arguments I never had. I got up, walked into the hallway barefoot, and without thinking, dropped into a squat. 3 seconds. Just 3. When I stood back up, something shifted. It wasn't dramatic, no lightning bolt of clarity. Just a quiet sense of reassurance. My legs still worked. My body was still mine. And in that moment, I realized something. This whole ritual, these bedtime movements, they were never really about muscles. They were about control. Because when so much of life after 60 starts to feel like a slow surrender of energy, of memory, of names you used to remember, instantly it means something to know you can still choose to move, to stretch, to bend your knees and rise again. We live in a world that wants to wrap us in soft couches and endless entertainment. We scroll, we slouch, we sink, and no one tells us the cost until it's too late, until a slip in the bathroom becomes a fracture, until a lazy evening becomes the beginning of dependency. But you don't have to wait for the warning shot. Met people in their 80s with stronger cores than folks in their 40s, because they refused to let their bodies be forgotten. They didn't need gyms or fancy routines, just floor space, breath, and commitment. Here's your final old age truth. You're never too old to start, but you might be too comfortable to try. That comfort is the real danger. It whispers that you're fine, that nothing's urgent, that tomorrow is just another version of today. But that's not true. Every night you move is a night you remind your body it's still needed. Every night you don't is a vote for decline. And here's a quirky parting thought. The oldest known living land animal is a tortoise named Jonathan. He's over 190 years old and still enjoys sunbathing. Doesn't rush, doesn't strain, but he keeps moving, steady, consistent. There's still debate among scientists whether muscle memory can be reawakened after long periods of disuse. But anecdotal evidence and people like Jonathan make me believe it can, not in explosive, gym-worthy ways, but in the simple, sturdy ways that matter. I don't care if you start with one squat and a stretch. I don't care if you feel ridiculous waving your arms in the air like you're conducting an invisible orchestra before bed. What matters is you begin tonight, because tomorrow, when your feet hit the floor and your body says, let's go, you'll know you trained for this. You prepared for the simple miracle of standing tall, and that's worth everything asterisk. So as we close our eyes tonight, let's leave behind the noise of the day and step gently into stillness. Breathe. Let your body thank you for showing up. The squats, the stretches, the snack swaps, they all whispered to your muscles, you still matter. You've chosen strength in quiet ways most people overlook. And when the morning comes and you rise without hesitation, let that be your reward. Your strength earned in the softest part of the night. Rest now. You've done enough. And tomorrow we begin again. Softly, steadily, together. Good night.